Hello, my name is Lisa Bush, and today we're going to take a look at the integrated purchase order module. It's one of several modules that are part of the financial suite. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the dollar sign. And the purchase order module is tightly integrated. Anything that you create on the purchase order will flow to accounts payable. So you're not having to redo the work. All of the accounting will flow. So let's take a look at how it's integrated with the financials. First of all, the menu structure is the same. Things you do on a daily basis, we've got those under the daily tab. Things that you do more of a once a month, once a year, you're going to have that under the periodic tab. We do have reports. All of the reports you can email. It's unlimited history. You can put in Word, drop to Excel. So once again, it's integrated with those Microsoft products. We have inquiries. And then the very last option is tables. And there's just a few tables that you'll set up with purchase orders. We'll take a look at some of those where you can actually define what information that you want to print on the purchase order. So let's go ahead and go under daily, and let's take a look at where you would enter in a purchase order. I'll go ahead and bring one up that I've already entered in, and we'll take a look at the information that we can capture. Couple of key things. If you look at the toolbar, it is like any other Microsoft product, so the navigation's identical. If you do have a question, you can simply hit the telephone. Within the software, you can electronically log a support call. We know exactly what product, we know the menu, type a question, and then let us know your preference, and it's that easy to log a support call. Now, if you look on the purchase order screen, once again, if you don't know the vendor, you can right-click, you can search. What you're tracking here is the total amount of the purchase order, and then down below, you can allocate it to as many different items that you want to purchase, and then it can be charged off to as many different accounts. So this is where you're putting the detail on, the items that you're ordering, and then the GL accounts that you want to charge it off to. Now keep in mind, all of this accounting is going to flow to accounts payable. So when you do pay that invoice, we're going to bring in the information from purchase orders. A couple other things I want to point out is on the far right hand side, you see 3 different levels of approval. This is a feature that you can turn on if you want to be able to approve it before you encumber the funds. You can have up to 3 different levels. We'll take a look at how you can set that up in the tables, but this is where you're creating those purchase orders. Now keep in mind, just like on journal entries and accounts payable, we can do recurring purchase orders. Those are templates you can set up. So if you've got items that you're ordering, same vendor, same information, create the template so that you can tweak the template or just post it so that you don't have to continually redo that information. So this is where you're going to create the purchase order. When we get into tables, there's a couple of things you can turn on if you want a warning, if you're over budget. But once again, we're just getting that purchase order entered, and this is where that takes place. Now, also under daily, you also have this exception report. So if you had a warning that you were over budget and you ignored it, you're going to also be able to see here before you create those purchase orders, which items are over budget. Right here is where you can actually print the purchase orders, and there's a couple different ways you can do it. I can grab all or do it, for a certain ID so that I can get just my purchase orders. So it will create a purchase order, and when we get into tables, we'll take a look at some of the different options on what prints on the purchase order, but this is an example where I've got, the name of the organization, it creates the PO number, who is it issued to, where do you ship it, details on the quantity and what it is you're ordering. And then down below, we're going to take a look at how you can define what instructions that you want to print on that purchase order. But this is where, once again, it will create a purchase order that you can send to your vendor. So that's where that happens there. Now, under periodic, there's a couple of things you can do here. One is we do have this control report that you can print out, and you could do it from date range. You can do it based on status. So if you want to see all those purchase orders that you've got entered in, or even do it by user. This is a way to see, what you've created and what you have in the system. And once again, just like all the other products, you can just look at the report, you can email it, you can go to Word or Excel or create a PDF. Now, a couple of other things that you can do here, you might want to run a report, maybe at the end of your fiscal year to see all the purchase orders that are open. And we also have a process depending on, how you want to do this. We'll go ahead and let's see, run it for this year. And these are all the ones at the end of the year that are still open. So if you want to go ahead and close those out. Now we do have a process if you decide you want to roll those into the new year. It depends on how you want to handle. Do you want to take it off the books or roll it into the new year? But at least you're going to know what you've got out there. And like I said, there is that process to roll it to the new year's. Now you're going to notice this little option here to liquidate purchase orders. This is one way you can do it. However, 9 times out of 10, you're going to make those changes through accounts payable. So when we get into accounts payable, I'll show you how, let's say as an example, the PO was more, the encumbrance was more than the invoice, you can make that change so that you're not going to have to do it here. So that way you don't have that encumbrance sitting out there. You can fix it during AP or you can do it here. Now, if you look at the reports, there's a couple, here's this one, what's still open, and there's a couple different ways you can print that by PO or you can do it by account. Once again, these print to the screen so that you can see what do you have out there. You might have a partially liquidated purchase order, but you're going to be able to see that detail. Now, if you decide you want to add inventory, there is a process so that you can receive those items. But if you don't have inventory, we're really just tracking the encumbrance, and we'll take a look at a financial statement where we pick up that information. And also we'll take a look at some of the inquiries where you can see that encumbrance or those outstanding purchase orders. Now, inquiry, here's one that you can go to and look up purchase orders by status or by vendor. And once you get your list, you can simply double click on any one of these that you want to get more detail. So it just works like all the other inquiries that we have. Let's take a look at tables. Now, this is where you're going to make decisions on things like, do you want the system to automatically assign the purchase order number? Most do. So, or as you get started, what's the next available number? You can also define how do you want your purchase order to look. We've got a laser purchase order with GL details or one with not. In addition, you can also, if you need to do taxes, have it automatically calculate taxes, or you're using decimal points. And then here's that check budget. So do you want a warning as you enter in that purchase order if it's over budget? So you'll know at that point in time. Keep in mind, you've also got that report that you can run to see, anything that's over budget. And then down here, if you decide to turn on the approvals, you can decide how many limits, and then you set up, let's say you do one, so that you'll have a notification when you log on to go and approve that, and then we can encumber the funds. And then down below, you can put here whatever instructions that you want to print on that purchase order. So you can define how that looks, and this is where you handle that information. Now, a couple of other things on vendors, we're sharing the same vendor table that we use in accounts payable. This is where you can define those recurring purchase orders. So once you define it, it'll be available to use just like it is in our journal entries and accounts payable. And then if you do have to do taxes, you can have different combinations on what type of tax that you need it to collect. If you don't, most don't, but we do have that ability in case you need it. So let's take a look at where the purchase orders, well, you'll see that within the other applications. One big one is if you go to the general ledger and let's say you run this report here, the statement of expenditures, encumbrances, and appropriations. One of the big benefits is if you run this report, once again, you can run it for any year, and we'll just grab some information here. So what you're getting here is you're going to have it reflect those outstanding purchase orders. So when you look at this expenditure report, let's say you run this for the board, they're going to know those obligations. So what purchase orders are out there? So that's going to come into play on the remaining percent of budget or what that unencumbered balance is. So once again, it is a true encumbrance accounting. Everything you do on the accounting side will flow to AP, but it gives you that, that budget check so that you know what those outstanding purchase orders are and reflects, a true balance. So that's one area. Just to show you on the inquiries, here's one. We'll just look one up. You're going to also see it here as well. So if you look up an account and you see, detail by month, the debits and credits, we're going to also show you right here, are there any outstanding purchase orders or what's been liquidated? So you'll see it there. Most importantly, when you do accounts payable, you're going to be able to bring in information from the purchase order. I'll go ahead and bring up an example here. And if you're down here, if you type in the PO number or you can right click and bring it in by vendor, here's what's going to happen. It's going to bring in all of the accounting that you've already defined on the PO. You're not having to redo that. And this is where, let's say as an example, it's a perfect match. Then you're really not doing anything on this payable. You've already done the work. But if the PO is for more than the invoice, this is where you can make the adjustment to the liquidation amount. So you can go ahead and reduce that so that you don't have that outstanding encumbrance. If it's less, it's just going to wash on through. So once again, tightly integrated. It's easy to turn on. All the accounting, you don't have to do a purchase order for everything. You can pick and choose, but it's part of that financial suite. So if you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out to us. And I thank you for your time today.